Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Morata.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is Darryl Anders from Agape Soul, and you're listening to the Break It Down Show.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Yes, indeed. Darryl Anders is on the show today. He is from Agape Soul, whose new CD, Conversations, is 2.5 years in the making and comes out right about now.
July 15th.
And we are excited about it. I don't say this lightly. Agape Soul is one of my absolute favorite bands ever.
Thank you.
I love seeing you guys. The energy that you produce at your live shows is just top notch. I mean, everybody in the band is amazing, not only in their execution. Everybody's got great chops. Everybody communicates beautifully. You guys provide a sonic landscape of togetherness that really translates and really it gets picked up by the audience, and we can't help but get swept up in it.
Thank you.
And your recorded works are also terrific, but I most recently saw you guys live, and man, we had such a great time.
Thank you.
I brought a crowd of people. I knew they wouldn't be disappointed, and every single one of them was blown away.
Well, we had a good time. I just felt bad that I had to rush off and jump on an airplane, but
yeah,
sometimes things happen.
I saw on Facebook you were literally on an airplane like an hour and a half later.
Yeah.
I saw a post from a plane seat. So you went straight out of there.
Yeah.
I think Aaron went straight out of there too.
Yeah, Aaron had a gig somewhere back east. I think his flight was an hour before mine.
Wow.
So we're both racing.
So you guys took off because I know, man, Aaron busted out of there, and then I saw pieces of his drum set being carried off.
Yeah,
that's
the thing. We all look out for each other.
Yeah. Now, 2.5 years. That's a long time coming that you've been working on.
It's really more like
CD.
3 years. As a matter of fact, we started the record 3 years ago, July 18th.
Wow. And that's not 3 years of foot dragging because you guys were just maybe 2 months ago still tracking.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes this record 3 years special?
It's a couple things. I mean, everybody's just dealing with grown-up life stuff. You know, we all had family stuff, you know, taking care of parents, losing parents, you know, just grown-up stuff. And sometimes that takes you out of the creative process. But at the same time, the creative stuff actually is very healing in that way. I think I said to you before that the first recording session we had was literally a few days after Zoe lost her mom.
Yeah.
And we were, you know, Zoe said she really wanted to just do it because that's what her mom would want. And it kind of set the tone for the record. It's like we're not just a group of people that are friends that make music. We really are connected to each other on a deeper level. And especially the four of us, the Cam, Zoe, Aaron, and myself, it's a tight thing.
Yeah.
And so we got together when we could, and, you know, it took coming up with the money to record and all the different stuff, but whenever we had the opportunity to get in and get it done, we did it.
Yeah. Well, those kind of things in a musical recipe like the one that you've conjured, I think it really comes out, and that's what sucks people in, because to hear you guys, the album is called Conversations, and your performances are always conversations. You can tell there's interaction, there's dynamic tension and satisfaction and resolution, and just like a conversation.
Yeah.
You have musical punchlines, and you get to see it. You can't escape it, actually, as a listener. One of the fun experiences that we had watching you guys, our friends Dave and Laura Miller came from Oakland, and, you know, 2 or 3 songs into the performance, were just kind of mellowing into it, and Zoe hadn't taken the stage yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as she hit the stage, I saw this look on Laura Miller's face. She was trying to figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
And then deep into the next song, she just looked at me and said, "Do you know the name of this singer?" And I said, "Yeah, her name is Zoe Ellis." And Laura said, "I knew it. I knew it. I was a big fan of the Mofessionals."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "You know what? So was I. We probably went to the same shows. We probably saw each other from back then." And she said, I recognized that voice, and it's in such a different setting now.
Yeah.
It's in such a more mature setting. It's nice to have players who surround themselves with people where you can communicate those life things.
Mm-hmm.
Because the maturity of your playing and the maturity of your playing together is, I don't know, maybe it's subtle. How many of your fans would you say come to the shows and can speak to your evolution as a band? How many have stuck with you for a while?
I would say a good percentage of them have been with us from the beginning, but we're also constantly creating new fans, and people come to the show and they tell other people.
Yeah.
And I think,
You can see the crowd growing, definitely.
yeah, and I think this.
But you're not losing people.
No, I don't think I hope we haven't alienated anybody. You know, the band has changed a little bit personality-wise, but again, that core has stayed pretty consistent.
How would you say the personality of the band has changed?
Probably the biggest thing is I've accepted the responsibility of being a leader.
Wow. And that's been a change.
Well, just in terms of, I think in the beginning, I just wanted us to be a band, and I wasn't necessarily clearly articulating what I wanted or what I needed. Just like, hey, we'll just get together and play music and have fun. And eventually, it got to a point where, like, okay, I know what I want now, and I'm gonna ask for what I want. And I'm gonna be direct about it, and it was actually helpful. I think everybody appreciated that, because if somebody says, "This is what I want," it's very easy to give them that. If they just go, "Well, I don't know," you know, if you give wishy-washy direction, that's what you get.
Yeah.
So it took some maturity on my part to say, okay, you know what, you're the band leader, be the band leader, and it changed the dynamic of the band in that way.
That's really something.
Making the record, the first time I wasn't necessarily confident in what I was doing or asking for what I wanted, and this time I was like, ultimately it's my record. This is what I want, so I gotta at least try to get that idea across. And people were really great at trying to accommodate my ideas, because sometimes it's just a vague idea in my head.
Yeah.
Cam Parrish, I can't say enough great stuff about that guy. He's the guitar player in the band, but he's just a brilliant engineer, and he made really hard work fun. You know, we spent countless hours going over details of stuff, and he would go home and dig into it even deeper and pull up things that I didn't even know were possible. Like when you listen to that record, you will hear the magic that he really put into it, and it's one of my big hopes that people hear this record and reach out to him as an engineer or producer, because he did an amazing job, and everybody did. But he and I spent a lot of hours locked in a room, working on stuff, and me trying to flush out these crazy ideas in my head. And he's like, "Okay, let's do it."
Wow.
You know.
So I recently saw this thing that, of course, I'm going to butcher, and I'm not going to get it right, but it was like the 4 E's of leadership. And the first one was envision. And a lot of people who get into collaborations do not only respond, but want somebody to say, "Let me have the clear vision, and I'll cut the path to the goal line." And then everybody else says, "Okay, if you do that, we'll go with you." And then the second E is embody. That's the piece that you probably felt was missing, or you didn't know was missing until you until you embraced it. But when you embody that vision, you get to take responsibility for it, and you get to be the example. Mm-hmm. And then I think, like any other team endeavor, sometimes your third baseman, he just wants to play third base. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to be the captain. He says, I'll follow the captain, but I'm going to lock down third base, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this to the best of my abilities. So I think that when you have the kind of collaborative friendship and musical relationship that you guys have cultivated, you give room for people to express themselves within a framework that they want.
Right.
So in the context of Conversations as an album, did you see the album as a whole, or did it evolve as a series of tracks that you selected?
That's an interesting question. I had a concept for the album, which was the whole idea that we have conversations every day in our life with friends, family, coworkers, what have you, that, on the phone, text, email, whatever. But we also have conversations as musicians. We have conversations with each other on the stage. We have conversations with the listener. There's that whole interaction thing. So I wanted to do something musically that reflected that. Mm-hmm. So part of that was writing songs about real life. Another part of that was having different people involved in the conversation musically. So we are a band, but there were other people that were brought into the conversation because they're going to have a different perspective or a different way of speaking that's going to make us respond and react and contribute to the conversation in a different way. So, and probably the biggest difference is I was just bold on this record.
Oh, wow.
I would ask people that were way beyond what I should be able to ask people to be a part of this record. And God just said, just ask. Mm-hmm. And literally, he just ripped the doors off the hinges. I got some of my biggest musical influences on this record. I got Tommy Sims on this record. And I was calling Tommy to ask him about something. God said, ask him to sing Home. And I did. And he said, let me hear the track. He loved the track. And, sometimes when you ask somebody to participate on something, they just, especially when you don't have a whole lot of money or something, they just phone it in. And because they're really good, it still comes out really great.
Sure.
He absolutely didn't phone it in. I mean, he took his time with it, and he delivered something that's so amazing. Like, I can't even believe that this is a song that we wrote. It's just, his vocal performance is incredible. You believe that he believes what he's singing, which as a songwriter is the most important thing. You want people to deliver your song, to make people feel something when they hear it. And he absolutely did that.
Well, the other thing about that process is, as a songwriter, you're going to pick it apart worse than anybody else. And you're going to hear things a certain way, or your preconceived notions of the song, because you created it, are going to be one way, and then somebody's going to deliver something else. And Allie Willis told us, the worst thing a songwriter can hear is, do you want to hear what I did to your song?
Right.
But when somebody actually honors the song and brings it, that's great. So to further the ease on that conversation, the next one is enlighten. Mm-hmm. And so for you to be able to grasp your mission and enlighten everybody else, and then I think the next one is empower. You show the vision, you shine the light down the path, and you say, this is where we're going, everybody. And then you give them the room to deliver their best. Yeah. And that's the empower part of it. And it sounds like in your journey as an artist, you have turned a corner.
It feels like it. It's funny when you talk about empowering people. The very first songs that we recorded on the record were songs that were written by Zoe, the songs that she'd written before that I really liked. And we wrote some songs together. And the song I was telling you about with Tommy is a song called Home that we wrote for my wife. And originally Zoe was singing it, and I loved it. I thought it was great. we were done with it.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, it's not good. I think her daughter said it sounded depressing. And I'm like, what? It's like it was like a frustrating thing because I'm feeling like the song is pretty much done.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, I'm just, I think you should get somebody else to sing it. And, I love Zoe's voice.
Yeah.
And that's the voice
a
that
lot of us do.
Yeah. It's the sound that I heard. And I was literally getting ready to drop the song from the record. I'm like,
yeah, if she's not feeling it, let's just take it out.
I'm tired of fighting about this. So,
wow.
And then when Tommy said he would do it, and he sent me back the track, I was like, okay, she was right. And it's great on so many levels because, one, I asked her to write the song. We had this idea, and I was like, I need you to help me to write a song for Joni. And she wrote an incredible song. Just a great song. And she fought me on singing it, but she was right.
Yeah.
And it turned out to me to be one of the best songs on the record. My friend Oscar Cartai did this epic string arrangement that just,
Wow.
And it doesn't sound like, it sounds different than some of the other stuff on the record, but it's the song to me that really shows the maturity of the band in terms of songwriting, in terms of production, in terms of everything. It's like when you hear songs like, I don't know, anything from the first record, I thought they were great songs, but when you hear the evolution from that to this, it's like, okay.
It's a true evolution.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like we've just been sitting around waiting to do another record. We've kind of been living life and
there's evident growth.
Yeah. And that makes me happy.
Wow. I think all of the artists that we love and whose work we cherish, we can see. Like you definitely saw the evolution of Prince as an artist, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder. I mean, if you go back through their first, 3 albums, you can see, oh man, these folks aren't sitting around. I mean, a lot of people have the sophomore curse, right? You've had all your life to write this first album, and then you have 18 months to write your second one.
Right.
And sometimes that's not enough time to gather up the experiences to truly have a story to tell. But when you allow yourself the time, I think that speaks to one of two things. It either speaks to the maturity of all of you and you especially as an artist, or it speaks to the fact that sometimes life just says, no, Darryl, I'm going to make you endure these 3 years.
Yeah.
And something you said earlier, if you're smart, you listen.
Yeah.
And you let it take you for the ride. So it sounds like you've done that. And Zoe, I mean, it's enormous of anybody to say, I've written this song, but it's better that I let it go because there's something missing here that somebody else is going to come and contribute without even knowing who the somebody else is or, just knowing that it didn't feel right.
Well, and it made it even better because she's a huge fan of Tommy Sims.
Yeah.
So it just...
It makes it even better.
Yeah, it's just a great thing, and I feel good that we were able to feature her songs on the record because I've always been a huge fan of her songwriting. Mm-hmm. The first record was a bunch of songs that I'd written a long time ago, and then I got some people together and recorded it. This record was definitely more of a collaboration as far as the songwriting and as far as a lot of things. And it feels like it happened the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, and there's a special reward in it, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I also have been a longtime fan of Zoe's songwriting because having seen her when we were, she's been at it since she was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid, she had a mature voice, not just sonically, although also sonically, but she had things to say.
Yeah.
And we are practically the same age.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, when I was watching the Mofessionals, I must have been, 20,
Mm-hmm.
I was in clubs, so maybe 21.
Mm-hmm.
But she was talking candidly about sex and relationships and the dynamics of being a young empowered woman trying to find her path, and just the things that she said. She was leading a bunch of us who were kids through the coming of age that we all had to deal with individually. And I'm a dude. And so to hear her sing about these things and have them affect me, not necessarily in the I'm going through the same thing dynamic, but in being able to say, well, I've got women around me, right, and I certainly am trying to have women around me, and to understand these dynamics of what they're going through helps me a lot to be a better friend, partner, boyfriend, whatever. And she's had some time with life to write more songs. You also have Levi Caesar on this record. Now, I remember Sign of the Times, the concert film, and he was the bass player, and he played with a pick. And I just remember being blown away at his playing with a pick, because I was infatuated by bass players who played with their thumb, especially. And then to see him move on to the guitar he played guitar on Love Sexy. I think it was right after Sign of the Times, right, when he moved to guitar. And it made perfect sense. Yeah. And then, just really all the turns of his career. Let's see who else. Oh, there's Oscar with strings. Yep. Man. But the core remains. And there's a whole lot of you and Aaron cementing this record together. And Levi's on a couple of these tracks.
Yeah, Levi was amazing. I think the first song I called him for was a song called Fruitvale Gumbo. Because that song, I wanted it to feel like New Orleans and Oakland and a little bit of Minneapolis
mashed together.
And because he's from Oakland, Richmond area, and he spent so much time with Prince, he kind of brought those elements together, and just he layered some of the best guitar stuff I've ever heard in my life. And the great thing about working with people like Levi, you give them the track and say, put something on there for me. Yeah. You don't give them a whole lot of
They don't require a lot of direction.
Yeah, because they're going to respect the song, and 9 times out of 10 they're going to give you more than what you need. And I think if I'm good at anything as a producer, I'm good at getting people who are going to give me a lot of great stuff to choose, and then I can distill it to
making selections.
Yeah. So, his guitar playing is just amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear, because I've also seen him in the role of musical director, and as an MD, he's so technically aware of everything that's going on. Yeah. So it's not surprising to hear that you just hand him over the track and he's going to give you a bunch of things, and then you're going to end up with colors and textures in there that you go, oh man, now I can do whatever I want here. Right. But I saw him once at a rehearsal where he was working the band. He would pick apart everything, and you couldn't do anything and have him not hear it. Right. And not just hear it, but hear exactly where it was and tell the engineer what to roll off because it was too much of it, or, and it was pretty amazing to watch. Yeah. And so I can imagine that his contribution is so thoughtful because he's aware of everything that's going on in there. What happened during the recording of this album that brought you an unexpected turn? What was like a startling surprise that made you go, I did not see that coming? And you could say that about the tracks that Levi handed you, but
really, there were so many of those. I can't even. I made some decisions in the course of this record that I think some people in the band thought I was crazy. For instance, we had recorded Sweet Sticky Thing, and I had recorded a live horn section, and it was great. And then I thought, you know what? That's the same horn arrangement that's on the original. And I feel like we should do something different. So I reached out to my friends in Snarky Puppy and said, hey, can you guys come up with a horn arrangement that has the same vibe and intensity to the song, but just take it someplace else.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, sure.
And they came with it.
Yeah, they came up with something that was great. It still respects the original song, but it's, if you're gonna cover somebody's song, you should make it your own. Mm-hmm. And they really
it's the greatest honor if you're able to take a song and contribute something to it.
You got to respect the original work, but hopefully you can put something on it that makes it different. And that was a great moment. I think the biggest shock was just the amount of love that people poured into this project. There were very few people that said no.
Wow.
And people were just really giving, and they didn't, it's one thing to just do it, but when you do it with sincerity and really pour into somebody's project, that means a lot to me.
Yeah. Like people really loved it into existence.
And they brought something that was different than I could have even asked for if I knew I didn't even know to ask for it.
Vicky Randall.
Mm-hmm.
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
reach out to us on Twitter
at Pete A. Turner
or at JohnLG69
at the Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
Where did you find Cam? How did that come together?
Oh.
Because the two of you as musical ingredients, you bring different flavors, definitely.
So that's a funny story, and I don't even know that Cam knows the whole of this story. It's going to get me in trouble, but whatever. So a mutual friend of ours, Ted Gould,
Bliss,
yeah, told me about Cam a long time ago. And I had heard him play a little bit, but not that much. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking for something else. I don't think he's the guy. I was looking for somebody that played like Jubu or Arrow. Like that was the voice I had in my head.
Sure.
And
that's a nice voice.
Yeah. And Bliss kept saying, yeah, man, you need to check Cam out. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So Cam and I ended up playing together with Nate at Q's.
Okay.
And the band was Aaron, Cam, myself, and George Epps, and sometimes different keyboard players, but the three of us. And we did that gig for years. And Nate would call us on Wednesday and say, okay, we're going to do these songs. We wouldn't rehearse. We would just learn them on our own and come together on Friday and just boom.
Yeah.
And it was a gig where we could kind of play loud and just really be aggressive.
Work it out.
And work it out.
Yeah.
And in the course of that gig, I got to see who he was as a musician. It's like, okay, that's what he does. I like that. And then I asked him to join the band, and it kind of took off from there. And then I got to really know him as a person. And now he's literally one of my best friends. I probably talk to him every single day.
Yeah.
And so once we got that musical connection, then we got to know each other as people, and a personal connection. It's just really, I can't imagine having this band without him.
Yeah. Especially as an engineer and a producer and a really just co-conspirator.
Yeah, I mean all of that, but even just as a guitar player, like we've had some gigs where we had different guitar players when Cam couldn't make a gig, and they were great, but when he's not there, I immediately miss what it is he does. So, there are certain parts of this band that are really important to me, and it comes down to those four people.
Yeah.
Cam, Zoe, Aaron, and I guess myself.
Yeah.
Like those four things, it makes it hard. If any one of those four is not there, it's a little different to me.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily bad, but just
it's different.
I can relax and just be in the moment when that's there.
You've done the miles together.
Mm-hmm.
You've spent the hours. You've done that working out process. And I think the other thing is, for our listeners who don't take the musical stage, I would relate it to sometimes you have friends who you just know laugh at your jokes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have a shorthand, you have an ability to, sometimes it's a look, and even on stage making music, there is a look that says, it's time to go in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
And the folks who will go with you and know to go with you, and the folks who know your shorthand,
Mm-hmm.
they mean a lot. They mean as much as your friends who get your humor.
Yeah.
And, you know, understand when you're feeling a certain way.
And this is all of that.
Yeah.
With Aaron, I can play a fill, and he will know
Where you're coming in for a landing.
Yeah, but he will play the fill with me.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's like we play together seamlessly. And, you know, you talk about laughing at your jokes. You know, so I think some people think of this band as a really serious band, and we are serious. We want to make,
okay,
real
hold
music
up. Just
for grown-ups.
real music for grown-ups. Listeners, if you haven't yet jumped off and checked out Agape Soul on YouTube or somewhere else, let me just tell you, everybody in this band, we're talking about the conversations they have and the dynamics together that they collaborate and make music. Everybody in this band is bad. Let's not forget that. So when you say, oh yeah, everybody thinks of this band as serious, you know why? Because it's serious. Because every time somebody walks into a venue and you're playing, it's inescapable that you look at the band and go, oh shit, there's something serious going on right now. It's inescapable. We see people do it. You know, we've done it ourselves, but we sat at the venue and watched people walk in and go, oh, it's like that. Especially where you played at most recently that I saw you, because I go down there all the time and I see all kinds of bands down there. And we are very blessed to have some wonderful bands come through that place. Mm-hmm. The place is called Luca. It's right off of 1st Street in Benicia. It's a beautiful venue because it's outside. They have good food. They have drinks. The venue sounds great. It's an outdoor feel. It's a great casual backyard vibe. And it's just a happy place to listen to music. Yeah. You know, we see Jeff Campitelli down there. He always brings Jeff Tamalier. Angeline Saris is there all the time. I mean, just really great players making happy music and making people happy. Mm-hmm. And then there are other bands that come from other towns that we're less familiar with who come in, and everybody plays well and everybody has a good time. And you can hear music off in the distance and come wandering in to that place practically any time. Mm-hmm. And I'll just say Marty Duvall, he books the place, and he does a great job booking it.
He's great.
So you can hear, oh, there's music, and wander over there, and you'll enjoy yourself. But I know that there are people who that night that you guys played not long ago, they heard music and they went, oh, there's something serious going on. One of those people is an amazing bass player named Stacy Starkweather. Mm-hmm. He's a teacher at the high school. I don't know what he teaches. It's not music. He teaches like English or something. Mm-hmm. But he is a badass bass player. He is bad. And I saw him there and I said, hey, you know, I don't often see you here, because he plays simultaneously at the Union Hotel around the corner. Okay. I think he started like an hour after you guys. And he said he was back in the back setting up his gear, and he felt a disturbance in the force. This is what he said. My ears perked up, and then I just started following my head in the direction of this music. And I had to come down here because there's something serious going on in here. And he's right. I mean, you guys get together and you're doing your thing, and it's, you know, you've rehearsed it, you've worked these songs out, you've gotten to the point where you can play these songs in conversation. But everybody in this band is bad. So if you see Agape Soul playing in a town near you at a venue that you like, or if you see them playing at a bus station or a venue you hate, still go see them, because you will not be disappointed. So, there. Is it serious? Yeah, it's serious. Now, getting back to your point, because I think what you were going to say was that you guys have a good time.
We really do. It's serious music and we want to play well, but it's really important to have fun in the process, no matter what. And because we love each other and respect each other musically, and we have such a good time, I think that comes across in the music.
Yeah.
You know,
It absolutely
Eamon
does.
Flynn is one of the best musicians that I know, but he's also hilariously funny.
Uh-huh.
And we played together for years in Zig's band.
He is so musically rich.
Oh, you have no idea.
You know who he reminds me of on a musical level is Greg Proops. Greg Proops, the comedian, is so smart. You know this guy has an IQ of about 500 because he just opens his mouth and smart, witty, snarky, amazing, thoughtful things come flying out of it practically on accident.
Yeah.
And really, that's how Eamon's fingers behave.
And he's
a little bit older than everybody.
You know, I don't know. I don't know how.
He just seems like a sage.
Yeah, he's a deep guy.
Yeah.
And he's
not the inapproachable sage either. And
no,
I'm going to get him on this show and we're going to talk about it.
He's
but
super sarcastic.
Yeah.
And we just, the whole time we played together in Zig's band, I think we laughed 90% of the time on the stage.
Yeah.
And people were probably to this day wondering like what they were laughing about.
What are they laughing about? Yeah.
And we were just having fun. He's a perfect example of that conversation.
Yeah.
He will play something so left field, but so musically perfect that it'll make you go, "Oh, you're gonna do that? Okay, well check this out." And it starts.
And he brings things out of
you. He will suggest songs that like, really? Okay, I don't really hear that. But then we start playing.
Yeah.
Or in the process of arranging songs, he just has great ideas and great. We wrote Fruitvale Gumbo together, and basically I brought the song in and I said we need a bridge, and he goes, okay, boom, bridge,
and he just dropped it on you.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We were in the studio and we recorded the song. We laid it all down, and I go, Eamon, this song doesn't have a melody. We just been kind of playing this groove. He goes, okay. He goes in there, and what you hear on the record was what he played.
Come on.
One track.
First
boom.
take.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Insane.
he's that guy.
Yeah.
So
once again, listeners, that you're talking about Fruitvale Gumbo. So now listen to that track with that notion that this is truly a conversation. And he's just saying what he's just exercising his musical wit. Now, where did you find Aaron?
Oh, Aaron and I have been working together for years. I saw him.
Now, hang on, because I'm a drummer. Aaron is bad.
Yeah, he is.
He is bad. He is a communicator on the level of the world-class drummers of anywhere, but to compare him to the world-class drummers of the Bay Area.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the cats, and he, as a bass player, it's really important that you are comfortable with the drums.
Yep. You don't have to worry about anything, huh?
No, I really don't. And it just, I think I'm really hard on drummers if it's not comfortable for me. I don't think I'm the greatest bass player in the world, but I just want music to feel good.
Yeah. Well, that's love,
whether
it's really love.
It's never been about chops for me.
Yeah.
But if it feels good and I can just play the song and contribute to the whole of the song and make it feel good. And Aaron does that. I mean, he's got chops and he's got all the.
Yeah, he's got plenty of chops.
But when he digs into a song, it's not moving.
Right.
And that's really important to me. And he gives us.
Well, let's expand on that for our listeners.
We can all,
because when you say that the song is not moving, it's not that you're not driving the song forward or that he's not driving the song forward and guiding the song and having movement in, from
it's
one
just not
phrase
speeding
to the
up
next.
or slowing down.
Yeah. It's just rock solid.
Yeah.
It's true that he's got a lot of chops. I mean, I think Zoe challenged him that night that I was watching you guys to take his solo during a Latin phrase that it sounded like he had never soloed over that with you guys. And it's okay. You just can throw it at him, and he'll go, "Oh, okay. Well, then here."
Some drummers get to a point where they just go, "Okay, this is what I do."
Yeah.
And whatever.
And he continues to challenge
He's
himself.
constantly growing and learning, and not just drums. Like he's playing bass and he's writing songs, and he's constantly trying to get more, and so he constantly brings more, and that's the thing. Like we don't ever want to just settle.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think that he's playing other instruments to, at some point, want to contribute on another instrument? Or is it just that it contributes to his fulfillment in a way that makes him more expressive on the drums because he understands another instrument differently?
I don't actually know the answer to that question. I would say, I think it's probably that he just wants to keep growing and learning.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge to him to learn these things, and if he's interested in something, he's going to dig into it and learn and see what he can do.
And anything's possible.
And I think it makes him a better musician. You know.
Well, whatever he's doing is working.
Absolutely.
Because he's amazing to watch. He's fun to listen to. He drops a lot of little jokes as well.
Oh, so just about everybody in the band's got a nickname.
Huh.
And his is Reverend Puddle Deep because he used to put these little things on Facebook.
Reverend Puddle Deep.
That were really funny. Yeah. And it's a long story, but yeah, Aaron's really funny. He's a crack up. But everybody in this band has a great sense of humor.
That's funny because he seems shy. No. I mean, I've talked to everybody in the band, and he was the one who probably talked the least.
Yeah, he's not shy.
Okay.
I think he said the other day he was voted class clown.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's on now.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you, Aaron Green. You're going to come do this show, and we're going to have some laughs. The things that he would do sometimes, like in the middle of some song that you guys were playing, he would just bring out a chop just for a second, you know, like a little press roll, just to do something in between something that makes this is the magic of watching you guys live, is that you do something and then everybody in the band turns and looks.
Yeah.
Like, I heard you.
Right.
And, man, those things are hilarious to see.
That's the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Like any other conversation that's stimulating and worth having. Wow. Well, I'll say again, Agape Soul, one of my very favorite bands. Their new album is called Conversations. It's been simmering for 3 years, and everybody should go out and get it. Where is everybody going to go out and get this record?
It will be available on iTunes, CD Baby, I think Google Play, just most internet outlets. It is not available on Spotify. It will be available on our website and obviously at gigs.
So one of the things about not being available on Spotify is Spotify doesn't pay very well. And we are trying to get the artists who come on to the show and who enrich our lives so much some support. So everybody support your favorite artists. Don't be afraid to spend a few bucks.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to contribute to the process. And because you don't see Agape Soul on Spotify, go to the website and buy it. Actually buy it.
Well, I think it will
definitely
be
see
available
you guys
on
live.
Pandora. Like Pandora has a slightly different thing.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, for myself, even when people hire me for gigs and they say, here's a Spotify playlist of the songs, I won't do that. I'll go to iTunes. I'll actually buy the songs. And
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
Contribute.
What if I spend $10 for a gig that's going to pay me whatever? It's like, it just makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense for you guys to support the artists that that you love and who enrich you. Hey, thanks, man. This has been a great conversation. It's always fun having you on. It's always fun to see you guys play and to listen to the music that you make. And I'm really, really glad that you continue to make it. Do you want to mention anybody we haven't mentioned yet?
You know, two people that I definitely need to mention are Lynette Williams, keyboard player who just, she played on most of the records. She played on the first record. She just is a incredibly musical person who just brings just magic to the songs. And her sister, Lynette Williams, who did background vocals on quite a bit of the record. The two of them are just dangerous.
The Williams sisters.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Terrific. There are a lot of people who contributed to this record. You guys go out and buy it. You'll be able to pop it open and see all of the folks who played and gave a little of themselves. Of course, you and Cam and Zoe and Aaron and Eamon are all over the record, and you sound great. And once again, everybody, Conversations is the album. Agape Soul is the band. Our guest today is Darryl Anders. And, man, I love you guys.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it. Thanks for having me.